In the year 2257, humanity was thriving in space, exploring and expanding their presence among the stars. However, peace was shattered when the hostile alien species known as the Paklay attacked. They destroyed several human space stations, slaughtering thousands of innocents. The news of this unprovoked attack outraged humanity, leading to an emergency session of the UN Security Council. The decision. Councilwoman Anita Patel stood before the council, her voice trembling with righteous fury. Those Paklay bastards will pay for what they've done. Commander Henderson, you are hereby authorized to use any and all means necessary to secure justice for humanity. Godspeed. The mission. Commander Zachary Henderson, a highly decorated Navy lieutenant, stood at attention. His jaw was set with steely resolve. Understood, ma'am. We'll get answers one way or another. With a determined look, he turned on his heel and marched out to assemble his team. The arrival. Their sleek diplomatic shuttle landed at the Paklay capital spaceport. Henderson noted the gaudy displays of alien wealth and arrogance. Towering monuments depicted Paklay trampling other races beneath their boots. Decadent parties raged on the balconies of opulent skyscrapers. These entitled aliens thought they ran the galaxy. The encounter. High Chancellor Lyra kept the human delegation waiting for hours before granting them an audience. She lounged on her throne, sneering condescendingly as Henderson demanded an explanation for the unprovoked attack. Your pathetic stations were in Paklay space. We owe you nothing, Earthling. Lyra scoffed dismissively. The threat. Henderson struggled to maintain his diplomatic bearing. If you fail to make amends, there will be consequences. Humanity's restraint only goes so far. The arrogance. Ha! Restraint. Lyra laughed derisively. You humans are bottom feeders, leeching off the scraps of your betters. The Paklay Armada could crush your world without breaking a sweat. Now be gone from my sight. The ultimatum. Henderson leaned forward, meeting her gaze with a cold, unflinching stare. Even a bottom feeder will rip your throat out if you push it into a corner. If you think the full might of humanity is something to scoff at, you're sorely mistaken. He tapped a few commands into his wrist computer, bringing up a hologram that filled the throne room. Behold the UNC Stardestroyer Eclipse, the most powerful warship in the galaxy. The revelation. The hologram revealed the Eclipse powering up its systems and emerging from a cloaked lunar hangar. The Paklay Council members murmured in dismay as their sensors confirmed the readings. This was no bluff. The choice. Henderson's voice was cold as he spoke. So what's it going to be, Lyra? Reparations or war? Choose quickly. I'm not a patient man. The realization. Lyra narrowed her eyes, her earlier arrogance replaced by a hint of fear. She realized the humans were not to be underestimated. The fate of their civilizations hung in the balance. The hidden fleet. The transmission. As the tense standoff continued, Zachary's comm device beeped urgently. It was an encrypted transmission from Earth's High Command. Stepping away from the throne room, he took the call in a secluded corner. The revelation. Commander Henderson, we have a situation. Admiral Blackwell's gravelly voice crackled through the secure channel. Long-range sensors have detected a massive Paklay fleet amassing near the border of Earth-controlled space. They're poised to attack at any moment. The urgency. Zachary's blood ran cold. How is that possible, sir? Our intel didn't show the Paklay having that kind of military capability. The underestimation. Apparently, we underestimated them. Blackwell replied grimly. The size and composition of their fleet suggests they've been secretly building up their forces for years, likely in preparation for this very confrontation. The decision. So revealing the existence of the eclipse wasn't enough to deter them. Zachary mused, his mind racing. The mobilization. No, they seem determined to assert their dominance through force. We need you to stall for time while we mobilize our full military might. We're bringing the hidden fleet out of mothballs, star destroyers, dreadnoughts, advanced strike craft. They've been kept under wraps for decades, but it looks like their time has come. The resolve. Zachary nodded resolutely. Understood, Admiral. I'll do what I can to keep the Pakla talking, but hurry. I don't know how long I can hold them off. The confrontation. Cutting the transmission, Zachary took a deep breath, squaring his shoulders before marching back into the throne room. Lyra lounged on her throne, a smug smile playing about her lips. The challenge. Have a nice chat with your superiors, Commander, she asked mockingly. Ready to surrender yet? The defiance. Zachary met her gaze unflinchingly. Quite the opposite, actually. I couldn't help but notice the rather sizable fleet you've got parked on our border. Care to explain? The admission. Lyra's eyes flashed with anger, but there was a hint of surprise too. She hadn't expected him to know about the fleet. The Pakla have long resented Earth's growing influence and technological superiority. She spat. We see you as a threat to our own power and ambitions. The time has come for us to take our rightful place as the dominant species in the galaxy, by force if necessary. The plea. Zachary shook his head. War would be devastating for both our peoples, Lyra. There's got to be a better way. What if we came to a compromise? You stand down your fleet and pay reparations for the attacks on our space stations. In exchange, Earth will share some of our advanced tech with you. Help establish a more equitable partnership between our species. We don't have to be enemies. The gambit. For a moment, Lyra actually seemed to be considering it. Zachary held his breath. Had his gambit worked? The betrayal. But then her expression hardened, and he realized he'd been played. She'd just been stalling, buying time for her fleet to get into position. Lyra opened her mouth to give the order to attack, but was interrupted by ear-splitting alarms that suddenly blared throughout the command center. The battle begins. The invasion. Technicians scrambled frantically to their consoles, shouting panicked status reports. Hyperspace ruptures detected near Earth. Multiple capital-class signatures. They're right on top of us. Fleet shields and weapon systems powering up across the board. The arrival. Lyra paled, whirling to face Zachary. On the screens behind her, he could see Earth's full military might dropping out of FTL with guns blazing. The hidden fleet, in all its terrible glory, dozens of Stardestroyers and dreadnoughts overflowing with city-destroying weaponry, swarms of strike fighters so advanced they were practically AI themselves. It was a force capable of conquering the galaxy, and every gun was pointed squarely at the Pakla Armée. The ultimatum. You? How? Lyra croaked, her earlier bluster evaporating like mist. Did you really think we'd leave ourselves vulnerable? Just roll over when pushed? Zachary asked coldly. We anticipated your treachery and were prepared for this outcome. You badly underestimated human cunning and military prowess. The terms. He stared her down, watching the realization of just how badly she'd miscalculated dawn in her eyes. Here are Earth's terms, he declared, each word hard as neutronium. The unconditional and immediate surrender of all Pakla forces, or we start shooting. The tension. For a long, tense moment, Lyra said nothing, paralyzed by indecision as she stared at the armada that could reduce her homeworld to molten slag in minutes. The fate of both their civilizations hung in the balance. The surrender. Finally, she tore her gaze away from the view screens to lock eyes with Zachary. Gone was the haughty arrogance, replaced by something almost like respect. Grudging though it may be, her next words would decide the future, not just of Earth and the Pakla, but potentially the entire galaxy. The choice. With a face contorted with rage and frustration, she spat out her surrender. Fine, Earthling, you win this round. We'll withdraw our forces immediately. The victory. Zachary nodded curtly, not bothering to hide his satisfaction. A wise decision, Chancellor. I trust you'll honor the terms of our agreement to the letter. The new threat. The new transmission. But before Lyra could respond, Zachary's comm unit crackled to life. Commander Henderson, urgent transmission from Earth High Command. The alarm. Zachary stepped away, his brow furrowing as he listened to the message. His eyes widened in shock. "Sir, are you certain? That's impossible." The revelation. He turned back to the others, his face grim. "We got company. Long-range sensors have picked up an enormous fleet heading our way, and you're not going to believe who it is." The arrival. On cue, every view screen in the command center lit up with an incoming transmission. The image resolved to show a being unlike any Zachary had ever seen, vaguely humanoid, but with iridescent scaled skin and multiple pairs of eyes arranged around its elongated skull. The introduction. "Greetings, young races." The alien's voice boomed. "I am Admiral Zolter of the Grax Imperium. We have watched your petty squabbles with great interest." The confusion. Murmurs of confusion rippled through the room. Zachary stepped forward. "The Grax. But you're supposed to be extinct." The return. Zolter's mouth twisted into what might have been a smile. "Reports of our demise were greatly exaggerated, human. We merely retreated to the shadows after our great war, and now we have returned to reclaim our rightful place as rulers of the galaxy." The offer. The alien's gaze swept across the assembled leaders before settling on Lyra. "You Paklay, your kind shows promise despite your recent misstep. Join us as our vassals, and you will be granted a portion of our new empire to rule. Refuse, and you will share the human's fate." The betrayal. The dilemma. Lyra's eyes darted between Zolter and Zachary, weighing her options. Zachary stepped closer, his voice low and urgent. "Don't do it, Lyra. You can't trust them. We can face this threat together." The ambition. But Lyra's ambition won out. She squared her shoulders and faced the Grax. "The Paklay accept your generous offer, Admiral Zolter. We would be honored to serve the Grax Imperium." The curse. Zachary cursed under his breath as the Paklay ships began to move into formation alongside the Grax fleet. He sprinted for the nearest transport, barking orders into his comm. "All ships, battle stations. This is not a drill." The battle. The void of space erupted into chaos as energy beams lanced between vessels. Fighter squadrons swarmed like angry insects, and capital ships traded broadsides that could shatter planets. Zachary stood on the bridge of Earth's flagship, the UNC Stardestroyer Eclipse, calling out orders as he tried to make sense of the massive engagement unfolding around them. The strategy. "Concentrate fire on their lead ships," he shouted. "We need to break their command and control structure." The desperation. But for every Grax or Paklay ship they managed to disable, two more seemed to take its place. The battle raged for hours, with neither side able to gain a decisive advantage. Zachary watched in growing despair as the mighty Earth fleet was slowly but surely pushed back. The weapon. A weapons officer called out in alarm. "Sir, they're using some kind of gravity weapon. It's tearing our ships apart." The decision. Zachary gritted his teeth as he watched another human vessel implode, crushed by invisible forces. He knew they couldn't win this fight, not against the combined might of the Grax and Paklay fleets, armed with technology that surpassed even Earth's hidden arsenal. The sacrifice. With a heavy heart, he made his decision. Helm. Set course for the Grax flagship. Maximum speed. The collision. The helmsman's eyes widened in realization. "Sir, that's a collision course." The resolve. Zachary nodded grimly. "I know, but if we can take out their command ship, we might just give Earth a fighting chance." The unexpected ally. The impact. The massive Star Destroyer surged forward, engines straining as it hurtled towards its target. Zachary closed his eyes, bracing for impact. A blinding flash of light filled the view screen. The intervention. For a moment, Zachary thought they'd succeeded, but when he opened his eyes, he saw an impossible sight. A colossal vessel had appeared between the fleets, dwarfing even the largest Grax ships. It pulsed with otherworldly energy, and as Zachary watched in awe, it unleashed a barrage of weapons unlike anything he'd ever seen. The disabling. In a matter of seconds, every Grax and Paklay ship hung dead in space, their systems completely disabled. The mystery vessel's weapons had passed harmlessly through the human fleet, leaving them untouched. The message. A new transmission crackled to life, and an alien voice filled the stunned silence. We are the Eldari. We have watched and we have judged. This conflict ends now. The invitation. Zachary found himself transported to the bridge of the Eldari mothership, along with Lyra, and a being he assumed must be Zoltar. The Eldari commander, a being of pure energy contained within a humanoid form, regarded them all with ancient, unfathomable eyes. The proposition. Your people stand at a crossroads, the Eldari intoned. The path you choose now will shape the future of this galaxy for eons to come. We offer you a chance to forge a new way forward together. The consideration. Zachary looked from Lyra to Zoltar, seeing the same mix of fear, wonder, and uncertainty he felt reflected in their alien faces. Whatever happened next, he knew the universe would never be the same. The new alliance. The council. The Eldari mothership hummed with an otherworldly energy as Zachary, Lyra, and Zoltar were ushered into the High Council chamber. Crystalline structures pulsed with soft light, creating an atmosphere of ancient wisdom and power. The Elder's speech. An Eldari elder, a being of pure energy contained in a vaguely humanoid form, addressed them. We have watched the rise and fall of countless civilizations. The time has come for balance in this galaxy. The proposal. The Elder's words reverberated through Zachary's mind as the Eldari proposed their interstellar alliance. He listened intently, weighing the implications for Earth and humanity's future. The demand. When his turn came to speak, Zachary stepped forward. Earth has proven itself a formidable power in this conflict. Our technological advancements and willingness to stand against aggression make us worthy of an expanded territory and greater autonomy within this new alliance. The dispute. Lyra bristled at his words. The Paklay aligned ourselves with the mighty Grax Empire. We deserve privileged status for our loyalty. The rejection. Zoltar's multiple eyes narrowed as he growled. The Grax bow to no one. You have no right to dictate terms to our ancient and powerful civilization. The chaos. The chamber erupted into heated arguments. Zachary's comm unit crackled to life with urgent reports of fighting breaking out on the disabled ships. He raised his voice above the din. We need to act now before this situation spirals out of control. I propose a joint peacekeeping force, human, Paklay, and Grax troops working together to restore order. The reluctance. Lyra and Zoltar exchanged wary glances before reluctantly agreeing. Within minutes, mixed units were being transported to the derelict vessels under Eldari escort. The battle. Zachary materialized aboard a Grax cruiser, immediately ducking as energy bolts whizzed overhead. Chaos reigned as former allies turned on each other in the confined space. He shouted orders to his men, trying to establish a defensive perimeter. The rescue. A human sergeant sprinted up, breathing heavily. Sir, Grax forces have pinned down Alpha Platoon in the engine room. They're not going to last much longer without support. The charge. Zachary gritted his teeth. Follow me. We're going in. The confrontation. They fought their way through twisting corridors, the ship's alien architecture making navigation treacherous. Rounding a corner, they came face to face with a squad of Grax soldiers. In the ensuing firefight, Zachary caught a glimpse of a familiar scaled figure ducking into a side chamber. The chase. Hold this position, he ordered the sergeant. I'm going after their leader. The duel. Zachary crept into what appeared to be a makeshift command center. Zoltar stood with his back turned, issuing orders through a communications array. In one fluid motion, Zachary raised his weapon and called out, It's over, Zoltar. Stand down. The betrayal. The Grax admiral slowly turned, his mouth twisting into a sneer. You fool. Did you really think we would submit to Eldari rule? We've been tracking their movements for centuries, waiting for the right moment to strike. With their technology, the Grax Empire will be unstoppable. The struggle. I won't let that happen, Zachary declared, his finger tightening on the trigger. Zoltar lunged forward with surprising speed. Zachary fired, but the shot went wide as they grappled for control of the weapon. They crashed into consoles, alarms blaring as they traded blows. The intervention. Just as Zachary gained the upper hand, pinning Zoltar to the floor, the door burst open. Lyra stood there, her own weapon trained on Zachary. "Sorry, human. I'm betting on the winning side." The desperation. Zachary's mind raced, searching for a way out, but he was outnumbered as Grax troops poured into the room. With no other choice, he dove behind a console, narrowly avoiding a barrage of energy bolts. He tapped his comm unit. "This is Commander Henderson. We need immediate reinforcements. The Alliance has fallen apart. I repeat, we are under attack." The stand. As he prepared to make a desperate last stand, Zachary could hear the sounds of battle echoing throughout the ship. The fragile peace they had hoped to forge was shattering around them, and the destiny of the universe hung in the balance. The climax. Chaos erupted aboard the Eldari mothership as alarms blared and emergency lights bathed the corridors in an eerie red glow. Zachary Henderson sprinted through the twisting passageways, ducking behind bulkheads as energy bolts sizzled past. The rally. His comm unit crackled with frantic reports of fighting throughout the vessel. "This is Henderson. All human personnel, rally at Junction B7, he shouted into the device. Rounding a corner, Zachary came face to face with a squad of Graxic soldiers. He dove into a side corridor as their weapons discharged, the acrid smell of ozone filling the air. The battle. Finally reaching the designated rally point, Zachary found a group of human troops hunkered down behind makeshift barricades, their faces grim, streaked with sweat and soot. "Report, Sergeant," Zachary barked as he slid into cover beside them. The situation. "Sir, we've got about 30 personnel accounted for," the sergeant replied, voice tight. "The Grax have control of the main engineering deck and are pushing towards the bridge." The plan. Zachary nodded, his mind racing. "We need to get to the hangar bay. It's our only shot at getting off this ship alive." The escape. As if in response to his words, the deck beneath their feet shuddered violently. A nearby console exploded in a shower of sparks, and Zachary's comm unit lit up with a priority transmission. "This is Chancellor Arkshan to all Allied forces," the Eldari leader's voice rang out, strained but resolute. "The mothership has been compromised. All personnel capable of hyperspace travel are ordered to evacuate immediately. We will initiate self-destruct protocols to prevent our technology from falling into enemy hands." The order. Zachary's eyes widened. "You heard the Chancellor. Move out." The fight. The human forces fought their way through the ship's labyrinthine corridors, each step bringing them closer to salvation or doom. Explosions rocked the vessel as they approached the hangar, and Zachary could hear the telltale whine of Eldari shuttlecraft powering up. "Get those civilians aboard now," Zachary shouted as they burst into the cavernous bay. The final stand. Human soldiers provided covering fire as support staff, and wounded personnel scrambled onto the waiting shuttles. Zachary was about to board the last craft when movement caught his eye. He spotted Lyra, the Pakla leader, attempting to sneak aboard a shuttle filled with her own troops. Without hesitation, Zachary raised his sidearm and fired. The stun bolt struck Lyra square in the chest, dropping her to the deck. The capture. "Bring her," Zachary ordered two nearby soldiers. They quickly secured the unconscious Pakla and dragged her aboard. The shuttle engines roared to life as Zachary strapped himself into the pilot's seat. He guided the craft out of the hangar just as a massive explosion tore through the mothership's hull. The aftermath. The shockwave buffeted their small vessel, but Zachary managed to keep it steady as they raced away from the doomed Eldari flagship. Emerging into open space, Zachary's blood ran cold. The void was filled with the burning wreckage of human warships, systematically picked off by the Grax and Pakla fleets.